the post recap for UFC 323. But first, we're going to talk about some bonus content regarding Stockton. Now, as you know, there have been some recent shootings that have happened in the city of Stockton, right? Let me show you a little bit of some view. I'm at right now. I'm right by a river. So let me give you guys a little bit of some view right there while we talk about hey, what's up, bro? Shout outs to Marty Miller, Victory, my man. How you doing? All right, hold on a second here. Okay. So here we are, guys. You know, the Sacramento River. I didn't have a thumbnail up for this one. I just decided, you know what? I have a good title. I have a good concept. And we're going to talk about it, irregardless of the thumbnail. Although the thumbnail is actually very helpful in terms of, what do you call it? In terms of, attracting more people in here. But let's see how we do with this one. And then once I get home, I will do a thumbnail, and let's see if it gets a little bit more views after the fact. Okay, so a little housekeeping notes right now. I have a video out regarding Joshua Van, to which, by the way, Joshua Van is a big component of this entire live stream. Okay, because many people are saying that what Joshua Van did was a fluke. Now, here's the thing. Do you think Joshua Van cares about what you think? Absolutely not. And he made it very clear that he doesn't care what you think. And that's just really the bottom line about it. I think, well, we're going to discuss that, right? Because there are some good reasons why he is acting like that. And I think that he has every right to do so. Marty Miller says, right, he just made life-changing money good for him. Yes, Joshua Van, yes. Definitely life-changing money, considering of his background being from Myanmar, the former Burmese nation that, well, obviously is in a state of civil war, right? To which he had fled that when he was younger. So for him to come up out of that and then grow up literally in the hood of Houston. By the way, very interesting about Joshua Van, right? He looks like a Stockton, California dude. He gives me that vibe, right? Like a Stockton, Fresno, LA, Asian type of dude. You know what I mean? Like he looks like, I'm going to tell you something about Joshua Van. Like Joshua Van looks like he could be a homie of mine from 8th Street in Stockton. I swear to you, that is the kind of vibe that I get out of Joshua Van. But weirdly enough, I found out that he was that he came here when he was a teenager. Now I'm going to tell you why that's significant, right? The reason why that is significant is because when he came here as a teenager, right, his mindset is a little bit less programmed to how we do things in the good old USA. You understand? We do things a little bit different in the good old USA, especially if you grow up in the hood, which I would assume he did growing up in the Houston area and coming from a destitute situation in Myanmar. So with that in mind, him coming here as a teenager, you would have to understand that he's not as Americanized. He's not as well-versed in the culture. I mean, look, the guy started doing MMA because of Conor McGregor. Think about that, right? Joshua Van started doing MMA because of Conor McGregor, and it wasn't even based on an MMA fight. It was based off of a boxing match that he did with Floyd. He says in exact words in his, in his interesting little, accent, right? Yeah, man, I saw this crazy white dude. And I was like, wow, who is this guy? So then I started looking at his highlights, and next thing you know, I'm at the gym. Now, next thing you know, I'm in my first professional fight. My first amateur fight. So he goes from Fury FC, right? The amateur systems of Fury FC into the pros of Fury FC. And then now he's champion at 24 years old. Victory says he said he doesn't feel like he really beat him, but he'll get a rematch. Okay. Did you hear Aljo saying that he thought Merab won? I mean, that's a very delusional take on Aljo, is it not? I mean, very delusional considering that he's saying something favorably towards his friend, right? That is, yeah, okay. But that's a bit of a biasness on that end. So obviously, yeah, that's like me saying Omar won in their fight. You know what I mean? And even me, as biased as I am to, you know, the guys with beards, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even say that about that fight. I mean, realistically, he says, yeah, Peter dismantled, Peter dominated the entire fight, yes. Brother, are you Muslim? Yes, I am, Demo. Shout out to you, my man. Demo Ballistic Car. Wow, okay, that's an interesting name. I would assume maybe you work on cars or you modify cars or something to that extent. Let me know if that is the type of interest you have going on. You know, that sounds very interesting. And yeah, let me know what part of the world you are from, right? We have all types of people that tap in here, and I'm very privileged to experience that, have different cultures, have different people come in here from different parts of the world. We'll have people tap in here from Scotland, Ireland. We've had people from Australia. We've had people from the UAE. Man, it's wonderful, man. It's really beautiful. He says, I am in Houston. Okay. I work in car automation stuff, work with Tesla at the moment. Oh, okay. Awesome, awesome. All right. So being that you work in Tesla, you have that experience in multiple types of cars. Obviously, cars with engine, but also, in this case, cars with electronic type of empowerment. Right? So that's kind of what you have going on. And then maybe on the outside, Houston, my goodness, Houston has just this amazing car culture, right? Of dudes, you know, riding spinners, dudes with like, you know, very big wheels, dudes with very big hubcaps. You know, those hubcaps that sort of extend as like a spike in a way. Let me see here. What I read better when I'm not with my glasses, he says. But I do go to the same gym as Joshua Ban. Okay. Man, shout out to you, man. I wanted to say, obviously, he trains at different times, but he does the same cardio class. All right, man. That is awesome, Demo Ballistics, man. That is awesome, man. Yeah, bro, Joshua Van. You know, shout out to him, man. He puts it on for the Asian boys. You know, definitely, man. He definitely puts it on for the Asian boys. You know what? I'll tell you my big long-term plan that I want to do with YouTube, right? I want to be able to make movies. In particular, hood action gangster movies. And one of the ideas that I had in mind was to remake Menace to Society, but with Asian Crips. Now, all the people that are probably thinking this, oh my goodness, he's going to culturally appropriate a black film and make the main characters Asian Crips. Yeah. And not only that, I will also have the Hoovers and their interaction with the late Pop Smoke, the New York rapper who came out here, got robbed and shot and, you know, unalived. Due to the robbery of his Airbnb that he was staying at, this New York rapper staying at the Hollywood Hills. And it was done by the Hoover Crips, now known as the Hoover Criminals, but that is a completely different story. They're like a rogue faction of Crip movement. But yeah, that's another story for another time, right? Yeah, so that's going to be the movie plot, right? Asian Crips, Hoovers, and then Mexican gangs involved with the cartel. So just to have a little bit of a DEI situation there. All right, so let's see here. David Rivera. Okay, shout out to you, David Rivera. All right, man. So, Petr Yan. The other subject that I wanted to talk about this is with Petr Yan. Okay, because we don't want to take away from his victory, because a lot of people are saying, hey, the only reason why you were able to win, the only reason why you were able to dominate is because Merab overtrained himself. That is a notion that a lot of people have, and rightfully so, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion. I think that Petr Yan came in there and did the best that he could. And by the way, here's what's very interesting about Petr Yan, two-time world champion now. At the stage that Petr Yan is at, many people would have never gone back up to Mount Everest. It would not have been that easy for many people. Okay, Michael Bisping loses to George St. Pierre. Can Michael Bisping come back? No. In fact, he tries the very following week, where there was a UFC China card between Gastelum and Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva fell out. Gastelum needed an opponent. The Chinese government doesn't really care about commission safety standards. In goes Michael Bisping, gets knocked out in the first round by Kelvin Gastelum, right? Yeah, that's the reality of the fight game. There are limits. There are limits. There are limits to what you can do. And I don't think Merab respected those limits. In fact, in my humble opinion, I think Merab, quite honestly, disrespects a lot of well, how do I say this? He disrespects a lot of realities, okay? Let me give you an example. Nina Drama, I'm going to be honest with you, is a curse in the world of MMA. Anybody that's involved with it, anybody that is, I mean, it is just, look, there was this one scene where Alex Pereira was playing with her feet, right? And I thought to myself, wow, you know what? I understand that this is something that is intimate, that other people do behind closed doors, but the fact that you're doing it in front of the world with Nina Drama and the stigma that is around her, and the fact that a lot of the MMA hardcore fans don't trust her, right? It just looks bad upon you. And then what does Merab do? He goes and copies the same thing. Merab is the literal blue pill dumb idiot. I'm telling you, like, this is a narrative that I'm going to run with, right? He says, oh, Nina Drama is making UFC great again. Do you really mean that, Fresh Melon Juice? I mean, you know, you do bust my balls a lot. You know, you do sort of, you know, banter with me. You know, you do joke about a lot of things. You do say a lot of offensive stuff, which, you know, I let you get away with, you know, I guess in the spirit of free speech. But do you really believe that? In all honesty. David says hi. Hello, how are you? Demo says, whispers of the Crescent City inside Houston. Yeah. Fresh says Nina is good and bad. Okay, then I can understand that. That makes a lot of sense. You're right, though. You are actually right. There is a good and bad about that. But her good and bad is not necessarily what I want to talk about. But yes, I do agree. There is a good and bad, and not to digress what those good and bad are. Promotion being one of them. And the other one is a little bit of a spotlight on a fighter that may need it. Right? And then the bad parts about it, I just don't like fighters looking like bitches. All right? Like, that's just, you know, the God honest truth. I'm an old school kind of guy. I grew up listening to Tupac, a little bit of some heavy metal, listen to Metallica, Pantera. You know, I like tearing shit up. Like, that's the kind of guy I am. And Nina Drama, you know, will not fulfill that type of entertainment, which is why I created this type of entertainment for you guys. You see, what you are witnessing, all right, a lot of guys like to say, well, I don't play personas or this and that. Well, to be honest with you, I do. I'll be honest about it. I do play personas. I'm showing you that I'm a guy who is into gruesome levels of violence, whether it's in the streets or whether it's in the cage, and I'm willing to talk about it with you, but doing it in a geopolitical matter. I mean, there is no one in the world that will put it together like that. No one. So, Fresh Melon Juice says, Tupac was G-A-Y, bro. Feminine. I think the word you are looking for is feminine, and quite honestly, I agree. You see, this is what intelligence is about, right? As somebody who was heavily influenced by Tupac, all right, with the type of music, the type of culture, and the type of tenacity that he presented to the world, there was also that zesty side of him that we can't deny. So that is called intelligence, actually breaking down the reality of this man. And that is all that I'm presenting to you, right? So here's the thing about it, right? Tupac's entire persona is now bigger than himself. You understand what that means? Let me explain to you what that means. Okay? What that means when I tell you that his influence is far bigger than himself is that the concept of not taking BS from anybody, this West Coast attitude, this West Coast reputation that we've all inherited due to the fact that we are willing to go head on with anybody, right? Hit him up, right? No apologies to anything that he said when he was going at his enemy. That was the energy that we brought to the world. And in fact, he became a part of that West Coast culture that was synonymous with lowriders, the LA Dodgers, the LA Lakers, Santa Monica, Monterey, San Francisco. What else? Converse trucks, skaters, gangbangers, lowriders, all of that in between, even the Peckerwood, lowrider Nazis that were part of, the same group that they depicted in American History X. They are also part of gang culture. So that is what Tupac exhibited. And you know what? Tupac even talked about how when he was in prison, that his impact was so strong, a white supremacist dude asked to take a picture with him and asked him for an autograph so that he could go send to his one of his nieces that were fans. And this is a shot caller within a Nazi organization in prison. That was the type of influence that he had. Oh wow, that's a very racist name. He says, bro, you got the Muslim face. He says you got the Jewish face. Okay, well, we are of the Semitic race, so I guess you are accurate in that. So thank you very much. I'm very proud of my Semitic heritage, as a matter of fact, right? Probably, a little more than I would say my Asian heritage, but that's a different side topic. Okay, he says, Dre's gangster persona is also fake. He's GAY too. He says, I know we are all over the place, but a few thoughts on Nina, especially for Muslim men. There's a growing trend of married influencers posing content that gives off the single energy to attract views. Okay, sometimes it makes the husband look passive or even disrespected, and whether intentional or not, it pulls male energy attention by design. Okay, very good. And then he also says, because we know how male audiences think, a married woman acting single creates fantasy, controversy, and curiosity, which equals engagement. You know what, man? Shout outs to Demo Ballistics. He is absolutely right about that, man. Big ups to you on that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, CMB. He says salam alaikum wa alaikum salam to you. Fresh Melon Juice says, bring back Fedor Styleman and MMA with K1 and Pride entrances. Dana has made the UFC woke and GAY. Victory says 100% fresh. Fresh says, yo, Victory, all is good. Okay. So, Petr Yan, right? Not to take away from his win, but Merab absolutely overtrained himself, right? Overextended himself and did not do himself any favors. That is the reality that I will stand by with Homeboy, okay? So, also, you got to understand something about Merab too, right? Merab is a little bit of a blue pill type of dude, okay? Even though blue is my favorite color, let me tell you something. Blue is not always, a positive affirmation of symbolism, right? Like, for example, the Democratic Party. I mean, are they really... no party, I guess, is holy art thou, right? But anyways, Merab, not to digress, Merab is a blue pill, C-U-C-K. You understand? And no disrespect to the Bloods when I say C-K in the end, but yes, Merab is a C-U-C-K. He's a C-U-C-K. All right? That's what it is. He's a C-U-C-K, but he ain't killing no Crips. All he's doing is just crushing blue pills. Boom. Now, there's some bars for you right there. Lawlessness says, is the like button broken? No, I don't think so. Yeah, please hit like as many times as you can, my man. Please. I would highly appreciate that. He says, I fell asleep during the fights the other night, though. Oh, man. Dude, that is the worst. That is the worst. You know what? I have a story for one fight that I did fall asleep on, and that was the Alexander Gustafsson and the Teixeira fight, and that was in Sweden. So that was a Western European time zone card, and I fell asleep on that one, Marty. I remember that fight very well. Fresh says, Merab is not a good fighter. His cardio beat other fighters, not his techniques. You know what? He did say that. I'm going to go back to what Fresh said in a second. That's valid, Fresh. His striking is super basic. Fresh says, do you really think he's better than Umar? No, I do not think Merab. I do not think Umar is better than Merab. No, I don't. In fact, you guys have heard me say this on the channel multiple times that I would like for Merab to fight Batista, fight other people, fight as, fight a couple more fights before he gets in there. I really stood adamant in that notion, right? Because I cannot believe that he could beat Merab, even till now, right? I think that he would be a very bad matchup, but I think Umar now needs to fight Merab. How about that, right? He fights Merab, and then if he fights Merab, and if Merab wins, then if Umar wins, then he'll go for the championship, and then he's, at that point, redeemed his loss. And then I can see a world where Merab goes into a losing streak, a two-fight losing streak, very small losing streak, right? Obviously one with Petr Yan, and then the other one now with, Petr Yan, and then one with Umar, potentially. Merab can beat Yan. Okay, Demo says, Dana would literally pull his pants down for Zuckerberg if he said to do so. Wow, okay. Fresh says, I'm talking about Umar having more knowledge and better fundamentals than Merab. Don't include cardio. Okay, so, damn. Unfortunately, it can't be on a no contest, and I probably, if I am the UFC, would not want to. Okay, D-Man says Van fight should have been a no contest. No, I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all, D-Man. I think that they did the fight as exactly as how it should. Look, guys, that is part of the fight. That force and impact of throwing you to the ground. Okay, look, I'll tell you a little street fight story that I had in high school, right? And I know this guy by name, right? He's now a Facebook friend of mine, but we were high school mates. Mike Eastman, me and him got into a fight in Old Bridge High School in 2003, right? So this is how it goes, right? He sucker punches me in the locker room. We start popping off right there. We get into a fight. Then he ran as soon as the teachers came in there. So he basically got away with a fight, right, without us getting suspended. But second time around, I met him in the lunchroom, and we started fighting in there, and he broke his arm while we were fighting. You want to know how he broke his arm? Because I pushed him right into the table. So the force of my push, okay, and the fact that he had to break his fall into the table, you know, caused his arm to break. And I'm going to stick by that. And, you know, we could run it the second time around if he... that's how... Yeah, that's how I see, you know, that. But he did hit me, you know, very good times while we were in the locker room. And then he, you know, ran, rightfully so, because the teachers and the adults in that area were on the verge of coming into the locker room, right? So Van makes the division more exciting. Yes, he does, right? Especially being an Asian American champion. You know, I can see, yeah, I can see that as, you know, as a big marketing tool for them. Let me show you guys where I'm at right here. I'm by a river. D-Man says Yan is a Siberian Russian master of sport and boxing. Of course, if Merab can't impose his wrestling, he has nowhere to go. Demo Blast says, for them, the UFC is happy that an Asian fighter who gets knockouts, no bad fights. Yeah, damn, unfortunately, it can't be a no contest because, okay. Fresh says, jump in and someone will send you money. Jump in, man. You wouldn't jump into water, man. You wouldn't send me money to jump into water. No, I'm not going to jump into water for that. You know, I think you should send me money anyway for providing you great entertainment and great value of information regarding MMA. That's what I think, right? But on top of that, showing you guys a little bit of the outdoors. Look, let me tell you the difference between content creators like me and an MMA guru, right? By the way, shout outs to, I'm not, you know what, to be honest with you, like this guy, MMA Musical. Do you guys know who he is? I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he obviously does MMA content, but does it in a very creative way, right? I don't always agree with a lot of his takes, right? In fact, I think he's, you know, maybe sometimes a little bit borderline racist, but that's, you know, I guess we all can be. And in certain moments of time, right? You can only imagine some of the things that I say behind closed doors, to which, you know, the whole world will never see. Or maybe you can catch it on my members only content. Plug, there it is. Join my members content only if you want to hear some of the most uncensored content that I could provide to the world. Okay. He says, you're not wrong, but that was a freak injury. He says you should call Ilhan Omar and ask for your cut of the billions. What is that in reference to? Fresh, what are you talking about with Ilhan Omar's, you know, billion cut? Please explain and elaborate for me on that. All right, Victory. Thank you, my man. He says, jump in. No, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. But, yeah, I can't jump in. You know, this water is contaminated, my man. You know, that would be absolutely not a good idea. It would not be a good idea to do that. So, yeah, I would highly, you know, ill-advised such. But thank you, my man. I really appreciate that, man. Much appreciated, much love to Victory, and may victory come upon you, because, you know, now I am helping Marty and his buddies behind the scenes, you know, doing some, you know, tape studies of the opponent. I know that it is his last day into sparring now. It's going to be Nate Davies versus Taylor Cahill. Cahill, is that how you pronounce it? Is it Cahill or Cahill? Let me know. He says, yeah, man, appreciate it, man. Fight week. Oh, it's fight week now. Okay, good. All right, man. So, what time is the fight? And also, what sort of, man, I hope they have some sort of outlet in order to, you know, show the fight. What do you think? You think they're going to have something to, you know, kind of show the fight, or what? Might get staff from the water. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Miller will storm the cage Strickland style. Why would you say that? Why would you wish that, Fresh? Why would you wish such thing as that? Right? Like, do you understand? Dude, that could really cause yeah, that could really cause a lot of serious implications, you know, if you were to do something like that. Look at this far uphill. You got to get up to right there. Yeah, that's serious implications to do that, my man. You know, you cannot do that, because you will get some sort of you know, not reprimand, but suppose you know, he gets his license stripped, right? Like, now he won't be able to corner, you know, any of his boys. You know, he can't go fight, he can't go compete, you know, and then that may lead to maybe not even competing in jiu-jitsu. I mean, who knows, man? They could do a whole lot of weird shit, you know, by but then again, there's the Diaz brothers and there is Strickland. You know, not much happened out of it. So, yeah, man. All right. All right. Beautiful nature walk, boys. Yes, yes. Yes. Okay, so now I want to talk about why Joshua Van doesn't give a F about what you think. Okay, I want to talk about why he doesn't give a F about why you think he's a fluke fighter. And I think it's very important to hear this, okay? Because I tell you what, it's important to never care about what other people think about you. It's very important to have that kind of attitude. And man, Joshua Van, at 24 years old, he got it, bro. He absolutely has it. Man, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm very honest about who I'm biased towards, right? I'm very honest about that. Like, if there is a person that I'm going to be biased towards, I'm going to tell you. I really feel a sense of biasness towards Joshua Van, right? I do. Like, I really want to see him do good. And you know what? Here's the thing. Dana White said it best, right? We all love badasses, and we love badasses that look like us, right? And, yeah, man, I know a lot of homies that look like Joshua Van, so I'm like, man, you know what? I want to see him do good. He has that Asian American market that he can really capture, that I think he already has. But then also he could catapult the UFC in an international level, like with Asia overseas. The Lawlessness says, that like button is so annoying. Smash it. Shout out to you, my man. And from Houston, there you go, man. You know, sitting on fofos, sitting on fofos. Mike Jones, yeah, like, you know, like all that Houston rap. Is he from Houston or is he from a different part of Texas? Let me know. Miller will have to do anger management with Veronica Hardy. Oh no, why would Veronica Hardy? What is that in reference to? Like Veronica Hardy, did she do an anger management course or something? Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, Joshua won fair and square. I agree, Mario. Yeah, we got to give it up to the Asian brother, bro. He won fair and square. Fresh says, Pantoja said he looked at Van in the cage and knew he could take him out on one round. That's why he went hard. Okay. Bay Blazer says, Allah Akbar to you, my man. Shout out to you. Demo says, H-Town. All right, man. Keep repping that H, man. You know, from Sacktown to H-Town to California and Texas and everything in between. That's how we get down. Yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because we about to get it cracking, cuz. So, yeah. Strickland had to train women's MMA, including Veronica. Okay. Minnesota fat one, he says F Islam. Okay, well, that's your opinion. He says, let's support this, bro. Hit the like, bros. Thank you, my man. Thank you. I'm very appreciative of that. You know what, man? I'm glad that even with just a little bit of a hearted effort that I sort of put into this one, because a lot of people know that I put a lot of effort into these live streams. Not only that, the videos as well. And the thumbnails, right? I didn't even get a thumbnail up on this one, but I guess the title sort of, you know, gave off the attraction to, you know, the content in and of itself. But thank you to everyone. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's talk about why you should take the life lesson that Joshua Van is taking right now and not caring what anyone thinks, because it goes like this, right? He says, hey, yo, that's a ban. What's a ban? You know, explain what you meant by that. Okay, so this is why it's important to not care about what other people think, right? Whether you do good or whether you do horrible, people are going to trash you anyway. That is just the reality of the world. Look, you ever grew up in a particular town or in a village or in a small area, and most people in that area don't want to see you do good, unless, of course, you come from Khabib's village and you see the blueprint and how everybody does good from that village, right? Now imagine, not only do they do good in MMA, there's a lot of Dagestanis that are professionals, business owners, not only that, doctors, right? They do very good for themselves aside from fighting. But the reason why they do so good at fighting is because they are able to share everything that they have. Like, they live like brothers, right? Oftentimes in the Western world, we have this individualized setting where by the time we're 18, we got to move out of our house or whatever, right? And it's like, you know, who has money at 18? I know I didn't have any money at 18 other than, of course, you know, Marine Corps money, right? You know, but that is nothing. You know, that's chump change compared to, you know, what you end up making as an adult when you start finding better jobs or getting a better education and things of that nature, right? But on any regard, yeah, man, why you should not care about what other people think, because they want to see you do bad anyway. They want to see you do bad. Look, listen, am I appreciative? Let me tell you something, guys. Am I appreciative of the fact that a lot of you guys pull up for these live streams and a lot of you guys, you know, love the content that I present? Yes. But here's the reality of it. A lot of you are just waiting to see me crash out or see me fall or see me in a, you know, in a horrible state of some sort so that you can have entertainment out of it. That's really what it is. Let's just be honest about it, right? We all love that kind of entertainment. And if there's somebody that's willing to go out there and do so, then by all means, you know, push through for it. But I tell you what I do something a little bit different, okay? You see, my whole entire life, I've always been a hypermaniac. I've always been down to ride, down to get it on, down to slide and handle my business 10 toes down and everything in between, right? I was always down to do all of that. But now I'm actually going to present that to the world in a live stream media platform and express those realities and those practices that I've been doing all of my life, and now I'm doing it in front of the world. right? And there is nothing fake about it. And that is the reason why a lot of you resonate with me. But that's the reality, you know, is that a lot of you are just waiting to see me fall. Now, look, are there real supporters out there? Yes, I got real homies outside of YouTube and in real life that are supportive of me. I got homies online like you know, my moderators and my regulars that come in here that are down for me. Yes, but the rest of the world, they're not out to wanting to see you do good. And you know what? You see this 24-year-old kid, Joshua Van. He's got everything going on for him, right? He's got the whole world going on for him. He's got championship money. He's got commercials. And like I said, I told you guys, I want to remake Menace to Society with Asian Crips, and I want to make Joshua Van the leading role of that movie, right? So he's got that, you know, in his back pocket. And not just me, you could put him in like some Disney movie, make him some like Asian superhero character in Marvel or something like that, right? Or a samurai. Like, he could do all types of things, man. Joshua Van is just, you know, really, he is, man, he's a marketable fighter. And a lot of you, you know that, you see that, and you say, you know what, I want to hate this kid. I want to hate this kid because my life is in shambles. My work sucks. Everything sucks. You know, your kids hate you and this and that. That's the kind of life you live. And then you see Joshua Van and you think to yourself, I hate this guy. And you know what? Here's what's great about him, right? He doesn't fall into the stigma of, you know, of Western culture where, okay, you know what? Now I'm 18, I got to move out or this and that. He's got his mom living with him. A lot of you would not do that, not in the Western culture. Heck no. Because the reason why none of you would do that is because there's a stigma behind all of that, because a lot of you care about what other people think. And that is the ugly life lesson that a lot of you never want to face. But that is the reality of it. Let's see. He says, I ended up subbing to you. Would love to hear your topics on Islam, etc. Or is it only UFC? Everything, man. You know, we talk about everything here. Mario says, not me. MMA talk. Why I come and your current event takes. Thank you, my man. He says he's a good person, probably without drugs and alcohol. He was normal in one. Okay. He says, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Fresh Melon Juice says, in one video, Connor talks about Jake versus Joshua shouldn't be allowed to happen. Yeah, I completely agree. He says, I just want to see cool people happy. Thank you for that, man. I want to see you happy as well. He says, settlers mindset. Elaborate on that, what the settlers mindset is. Settlers mindset. Fresh says, yeah, Miller. In some, he looks good and normal. In some, cocaine again. Okay. Fresh Melindry says the stream when you are out and about is aesthetic. He says the stream when you're out and about is more aesthetically pleasing. Okay, yeah, there you go, right? Yeah, MMA Musical does that, right? And he does like, you know, his own little karaoke. He'll play like the ukulele or the guitar, right? So something a little bit different. Have you seen the video of Connor and Mike Tyson? Yeah, it was as if he was trying to show Mike Tyson what he did to Floyd or something like that. He says what Minnesota said. Okay, so now we're caught up with that. Heavenly Delish says if you flip this guy's head upside down, he would look like Don King. Haha. Okay, yeah, very funny. Thank you, my man. He says Muslim. Yeah, he says, yeah, I think he's a good person. I think it's hard for anyone to manage that type of fame and money. He says, are you Muslim? Yes, I am, my man. He says, I go to the same boxing gym as Van. He's a pretty cultural and respectful guy. Yes, Van respects his mom. He says, okay. Demo says, in this dunya, They have created an empire and controls the youth. Yes, that is a fact. That is a matter of fact. Okay, so before we go back to the MMA talk, right, I want to discuss Stockton for a second, right? Because there's some updates going on with Stockton. So the FBI has now increased the reward to $130,000. Okay? They increased the reward to $130,000 because nobody is willing to come forward and tell the cops what happened. Now, look, here's the thing. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on this, and you're going to be shocked at what I'm about to tell you. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because I got some shocking details that I'm going to tell you about Stockton and why you're going to be even more surprised of my take on that particular matter. Maybe you won't. Maybe you won't be surprised, but here's how it goes, right? FBI is increasing the reward because nobody is willing to come forward. Can you imagine? You know how broke people are in Stockton? And I know this for a fact because I've lived in Stockton. I was once broke living in Stockton. Okay, now obviously, I have, probably came from a much more privileged background than other people, but it doesn't mean that I was impervious to not experiencing that. Life happens, things happen, but rest assured, it is not a place where many people are making money or living good. Okay, not like the way it is in certain parts of Sacramento, at least the parts of Sacramento that I live now, right? It's not like that. It's not like Beverly Hills. It's not like San Francisco. It's not like Monterey or the Marin County, right? All these beautiful places in California, Orange County. It's not like that, right? Stockton is a whole different animal. And people are broke, and yet nobody is willing to take the $130,000. You want to know why? Because nobody wants to snitch. Now, that is the one narrative that you can go off of. The other side of that is not only does nobody want to snitch, also nobody wants to get hit up because a lot of these people, they're scared of the gangs. Okay, especially the young guys that are in the younger generation than me. They are absolutely afraid of them because they will absolutely pull a strap out on, well, allegedly, you know what I mean. That's normal stuff is what they do, in the hood. Not just talking about, anyone in particular, but it is what they do. It's just the reality of the streets, right? But nobody is willing to step up, right? And here's my thing on this. I think that somebody needs to step up, but not in the way that you think. Now, this is my stance on everything, right? The police, they have no business with the war that is going on. They can only referee within the parameters of, all right, we saw this guy do it, let's catch him. That's it. But if nobody saw anything and everybody that allegedly was in that party said that they were all dressed in black, they didn't have any recollection, they had masks, they had gloves. So in other words, they did it correctly. They did it correctly, right? Now, the problem is, children, children unfortunately passed away. Okay? And that is the problem. That is the problem of all of this. The children passed away. And that was the problem. Now, why was that a problem? Because nobody wants to see children get hit. Now you're involving the feds because normally if no children were hit, the feds would not whatsoever be involved in this. He says, this dude is worth the like. Thank you, my man. Demo says, I'm in SoCal. Okay, you're in SoCal right now. Says, I'm a gangster. I did 2 years in Chicago. You heard? You did 2 years in Chicago? What do you mean you did 2 years in Chicago? Like a Chicago prison is what you did? Or, yeah, elaborate on that for me, would you, please? But, okay, yeah. So think about that, guys. Nobody is willing to come forward. Why do you think nobody is willing to come forward? Is it because they're scared of the shooters? Or is it because they just don't want to be labeled a snitch and it's a cultural ingrainment? I think that's the latter. I think that there's a cultural ingrainment that goes beyond money. Okay? There's a cultural ingrainment that goes beyond money. That's just what it is. Look, you know what I would do? I would say absolutely nothing. I swear to you, I would say absolutely nothing. But I tell you what, people who kill children deserve to be unalived. And I'm sure you guys can agree with that, right? Understand my stance on this, right? I would never, ever go to the cops, ever. I would never say anything to them if I saw it, right? Because that's not my business, and I don't want to get involved in anything, right? I don't want people, you know, coming after me. So better that I say nothing, right? And that's my God-given right as an American, right? Speaking of American, how about this? The Capitol right there. Yup. The capital of Sacramento, boys. In California, Hey, I was gonna ask you guys, hey, do you dare me to go scream Allahu Akbar to those dudes that are like handing out Bible pamphlets? I was like, yeah, of course you guys would want to see me scream Allahu Akbar in the middle of this. You know what I mean? Like, of course you would ask me to do that. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! He says the topic is pretty touchy. Yes, I have done a lot of youth reform. They are handling it internally. So that's what I'm saying, right? Understand this. That is my stance. I would never go to the cops, but you better believe that I believe anybody that kills kids deserves to get killed. So you know my stance on that. That is my stance. That is where I believe what I believe in that instance and forever, and where I'm going to stand with my 10 toes down, and that's it. That is what I believe. Now, others believe in something different. You see, there are others that are saying, you know what, this whole non-snitching thing, that is so immature. And then you know who else was saying this? Do you guys know the YouTuber Trap Lore Ross, right? Very interesting YouTuber, right? He has this like vest, right? This preppy looking vest, right? He looks like Harry Potter, for crying out loud. And he covers American gangs, which are Chicago gangs, LA gangs, Sacramento gangs, Stockton gangs, and then he also covers British gangs, right, in his own home country. And then he also covers, you know, mafia, Daniel Kinahan stuff. He does it all. He's a gang expert, right? He said that, oh, you know, this is very immature of them to do that. Says the guy that literally makes money off of gang culture. Now, granted, do I talk about gang culture in this channel? Of course, but it's not my main source of income. Like, let me see Trap Lore Ross talk MMA to you guys, right? You know, obviously he doesn't have the, you know, the skills to do that. You know what I mean? But he has the skills to talk about gangs, know about gangs, understand its culture, but then he'll go and turn around and say, oh, dude, that's immature, mate. You know, you guys should stop it already. You know what I mean? You guys are immature. You guys should, you know, already tell. And, you know, I'm like, man, that's some straight up bozo stuff, man. You can't be, like, I understand Trap Lore Ross is not a gangster and he's a civilian, but you can't be making money off of gang content and then tell gang members to not act accordingly as such. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. He says others, civilized people. What do you mean by civilized people? What do you mean by that? Here's the thing, right? The non-snitching stance is not for everybody. That's the other thing about it, right? So I'm telling you guys, even though I have a biasness towards one side, I can also give you guys an objective take on certain matters. Now, the other take on this is that a child died. We need the cops to help us. That is the narrative that a lot of people, you know, on the civilized side, as you say, like to conduct themselves under, right? You know, they're going to cooperate with the police because they have a certain trust in the police, right? They believe that the police will do no wrong. They believe that the police can't falsify evidence, can't plant evidence. They believe all of these things, right? But what they don't believe is the non-snitching clause. They don't believe in that. But I tell you what, I knew a guy that I beefed with online, right? And I told you guys about this. If you want to take a look at the origins of this beef, right, at least the classified version of it, watch my Joaquin Buckley versus Colby Covington stream. Okay, because there was a guy in there that I got into real street beef with out here in Sacramento based on that live stream. Okay, so I'll tell you what's significant about this beef, right? He realized that he was way over his head. Okay? He realized that he was way over his head because, well, let me just say this, right? A lot of people like to assume who or what I am, right? They like to assume that for the most part, I'm a friendly guy, right? You know, if you ask me to help, I'm going to come help. If you ask me for any information or any type of, you know, thing that could, you know, elevate you, I would do. But look, I'm not here to virtue signal for myself, right? I let those that know, you know, speak for, you know, what I've done and, you know, and all of that, right? That's not for me to talk about and to boast as a Muslim, right? But on any regard, understand this, there's also the other element of me. There's a reason why when you look at my profile picture on YouTube, that it has a dark face and in the other side, the face of my complexion, right? The face of my true complexion. Now, why do I have that? Because, and no, it is not anything that is, you know, racially undertone related to any degree. It is more to let you know that sometimes we need to have that dark side in order to protect our light. You understand? So in order to have that light, in order to have that goodness, you have to have that darkness in order to protect yourself and everyone around you. And let me tell you something, brother. I am absolutely okay with delving into the dark side if I need to accomplish my mission. Okay, so that is the type of enemy that you are dealing with. And he found that out in a very harsh way. Let me just say that after that whole entire fiasco, he ended up divorcing with his wife because, I don't know, maybe she just couldn't take it anymore. You know what I mean? Like the beef got too hot. I'll just put it like that. Okay? And of course, it got too hot because maybe you guys online that are supporters of me, you know, decided to go and, you know, harass this guy. And I don't know, that's not my fault. So I can't control what other grown men do, right? Do I look like a type of guy that could control what other grown men do? You know, he says, darkness is no good. No, it's not. No, it's not. But I'm talking about the exercise of certain, you know, patterns that, you know, exhibit a certain level of dark, yeah, you know, a certain level of darkness. A certain level of darkness to a maligned, but darkness with a non-maligned intent is what I'm trying to say, right? So it is darkness with a non-maligned intent. He says, you look like an MMA fighter. Yeah, I've fought MMA before. Demo says, you have the opportunity to put the youth because of the UFC similarity with a lot of youth. He says, respectfully, we should try and help our community, brother. But here's the thing, right? You should help your community. I agree with that. And there's different ways to do it. But you have to understand that you have a system that has done nothing but oppressed your brothers around the world, right? Not to say that you can't trust them, but you can't fully trust them, and you got to know when and where you are able to trust them, and sometimes you can trust them through the court of law, right? I've gone through many traffic court cases where I never had to pay a traffic fine because I went and fought it myself, right? So in that, I trust the system. I trust the kind of system that they have. For example, I know that cops are not very good with paperwork sometimes, and the slipping of these paperworks is really where you can get off on a lot of these traffic court cases. So just a little game for you guys, right? So for example, when I got caught last time, or allegedly caught last time, the police wrote on there that I was speeding at a certain rate, so I challenged that. They said that my car was blue, but my car is clearly black, and I challenged that, right? So they obviously mistaken my favorite color for the actual color of my car, and that was a big mistake on their part. So that was that. So yeah, man, that's the reality of things in that. So he says, yeah, truth, sacrifice, patience, and peace. He says, I keep trying to tell Guru to fight you. Huh. All right. Well, you know what? Keep that going, my man. Because I tell you what, him and Tom Aspinall training for me and John Jones, okay? It'll be just like when Chris Avila fought Artem Lobov, and in that same night, Conor McGregor fought Nate Diaz. Chris Avila is that Mexican guy that trains and fights with Nick and Nate Diaz. So, all right, guys. So let me see. Did I cover Joshua Van? Did I cover Petr Yan? We did cover the fights. Let's talk about some of the fights real quick. All right. I really like the scrambling exchanges that they had going on, right? A couple of questions that I have is, did they really have 29 total takedown attempts by Merab? And I don't know about that. I don't agree with that, right? Like, what constitutes a takedown attempt, right? That is the question. What constitutes a takedown attempt? And I think that the interpretation of that was skewed all around when, when you had these judges, or not judges, but these CompuBox people sort of count things that, may not have needed to be counted, which calls to what kind of criteria are we really looking for in MMA, right? It's still ambiguous, the scoring, right? The damage versus the amount of takedowns. We see guys that get the least amount of takedowns, or guys that get taken down the most, ends up winning anyway based on the strikes. But once again, you never know. You never know, man. Let's see, what else? The new fights that we have going on. Okay, so this is now the end of the pay-per-view era. This is the last pay-per-view. I want to know which one of you dunces out there paid your last $80 ever, right? And I also want to know from the UFC and accurate pay-per-view numbers how this one did. Because I guarantee you, this one, I'm going to give an estimate, right? 65,000. That's my estimate on this one. I'm going to say 65,000 Gilligans out there bought it for $80. What do you guys think? 65,000. A little more? A little less? What number would you guys give? Do you agree with that number? Is that number plausible in comparison to, let's say, maybe Demo says, I streamed that. See, there you go. Look, I think the majority of my audience here probably does, right? Because for you to be an Abu El-Kheer MMA fan, you got to be a hardcore fan. You also got to be into politics, right? So there's a little bit of a blend in that. You got to be a little bit hood, right? Because I kind of catch that culture as well. I mean, I'm the race whisperer, as as Marty calls me. So, Fresh Melon Juice says, is some Georgian people Turkish? Merab and Ilya look Turkish. Yeah, they are. They have Turkish blood for sure. You know, they are from the Ottoman Empire. You know, I mean, yeah, just one of the most one of the most well put people on earth. You know, let's just say. You know what I mean? So yeah. All right, so guys, listen, I'm gonna head out. It's been real, it's been awesome, right? I always enjoy these conversations with you guys, and not only that, I also enjoy taking you guys around with me to Sacramento, right? It's a city that I love. It's a city that I've settled in over the years, been in different places, lived all across the world, lived in different, well, not different parts of the United States. I only really lived in the bi-coastal states, but still, yeah, United States nonetheless. It's still a home that, I've claimed for a long time, and I'm glad to share it with the audience, right? Like, for example, look at this. There's a Mexican shop right there, West Sac, and then there's that barber shop right there. There's a smoke shop right there. There's, there's Mexican restaurants and smoke shops and taco places. He says, you're asking the right man. He says, you're asking the right man. Pick up some Mexicans and drive them to Mexico. Oh my goodness, man. Why did you even make me read that, man? I hate you. I hate you for making me read that. You make me feel so, like, just horrible. Like, why would you say that? Listen, I'll have you know that Mexicans are more American than you and me, and I don't even know what you are, for me to even classify you as to what side you could be on, right? But they are way more American than, let's say, me and Marty Miller. I'll say that much, right? Like, in terms of, having indigenous blood. Like, you realize, like, we live in indigenous land that is, well, you could say that it was, settled by their ancestors, but that's, he says, you in America? Yes, I'm in Northern California, my man. Yes. But anyways, guys, shout out to everybody around the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one, inshallah. He says, California, imagine that. He says, well, what does that mean? Hold up now. Hold up. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? All right, I'm not going to let you bait me into that, because you are about to debate me for, like, debate me and bait me to another 20 minutes, and I'm not about to do that. SoCal, okay, shout out to you, my man. But anyways, you are welcome here, Samsonite, on any regard. He says, come on, LOL. No, next time, come through. We'll have, a bit of some good banter, of course, as always. And, it's always fun, friendly, and good positive vibes. The California way, as they say. So, shout out to everybody around the world, across the United States, from me to California and around the world. Here's a palm tree to say goodbye to.